Hello and welcome back to another episode of Sunday Tea, the podcast where we discuss things that trigger us, heal us and help us to grow. This past week is probably one of the most challenging, traumatic and eye-opening weeks I've experienced in my life. And it was also my birthday week. And on my birthday, my son came home from college and he said to me that on his way home, he ate a cookie, which he thought contained nuts. And he was beginning to react to that cookie. So I immediately jumped up and in all honesty, I wasn't confident in what to do. My son has an EpiPen. And it's not something we've ever had to use. And I don't think I've ever been confident in knowing when to use an EpiPen and how to use an EpiPen. But in that moment of him reacting, I didn't have time to think. And I just acted based on what I felt was right to do. And I kept checking on him. Can you breathe? Is your throat okay? Because he was reacting in a way that I hadn't really recognized before. And my first thought was actually I need to get him to the hospital. So I was sort of getting myself ready to get him to the hospital. And he said to me, I can feel my throat beginning to swell, to close. And immediately I said, we're going to call 999. So I called for an ambulance and the lady on the phone was like amazing. She asked me, do we have an EpiPen? I said yes. And she gave me like step-by-step instructions on how to administer it. And whilst she was doing that, whilst I'd done that, she informed me that the ambulance had arrived and it was outside. So she stayed on the phone with me until the paramedics arrived and, we let them in. And that space of my son telling me he'd consumed a cookie that he thought contained nuts, to the point of the ambulance arriving was literally a space of 12 minutes. So a lot was going on in that short space of time. I didn't have time to think. I didn't have time to react. I didn't have time to feel anything. It was just like my son was the main concern in getting him the treatment that he needed. And once he got to the hospital, I started to call around and like explain to my family and stuff what had happened. And afterwards they said to me, like, you were so calm. I wouldn't have been able to, I would have been in a complete panic. I would have been in really in a mess. And I hadn't really thought about it. And I just started to wonder why I was so calm in such a chaotic and frightening situation. And I believe it's because of the past traumas that I've experienced in my life have given me that ability to remain calm in situations that might lead other people to panic. And I've looked into it. There's tons of research on this. And I believe in that moment, my trauma response was to dissociate and really numb myself to what was actually happening. And it obviously worked in my favor. Once my son, was stable and he was in hospital and he was safe, I had a chance to take a breath. And in the moments that followed, I did actually break down because I hadn't actually realized that when you have an anaphylactic reaction, you have 15 minutes from the start of that reaction to the possibility of it becoming fatal. And it was like a real blow for me to have that knowledge. And part of me felt really, I don't want to say guilty, but part of me felt like quite annoyed with myself for not being more fully informed on how to deal with a situation should my son react from, eating nuts. And I kind of sat with that for a moment, replaying the events, like everything worked out in the exact right time. If you ever had any doubts that God exists, that you have spirit guides and you have angels guiding you, that's the closest I've ever felt to being guided by my spirit team. My son's guides and my guides came together in order to get us through that moment. And everything worked out in the exact right time. The time my son told me he was reacting, the paramedic told me I administered that EpiPen just in time. The paramedics told me they were actually on their way to go somewhere else. They took a wrong turn, and that's how they were able to get to my house in less than 5 minutes. Like, the timing of everything is not something I could explain, and I can only say God was with us at that moment. And as much as I reflected on, I should have known, I should have had more knowledge. I should have known when to give him that EpiPen. I should have known, immediately to call the ambulance. When he told me he thought he ate a cookie, that's exactly when he should have had the EpiPen. I was playing with the time that we had. And I didn't know that at the time. And as much as I feel like I should have known that, I also kind of feel like, had I have known that within 15 minutes, this could potentially turn fatal, I think I would have just lost it. And I don't think I would have been able to remain as calm as I did at that moment. So I'm so grateful and thankful that my son obviously made it through, and it's the best birthday present that I could have ever wished for. And when you go through something like that, for me, it doesn't initially register. It doesn't really hit me until I've had time to catch up with myself and absorb the situation. And it was really terrifying. It was so terrifying. And I've spoken to my son about it, and he says, I think you were more scared than I was. And I don't know if he still acknowledges the seriousness of the reaction that he had. And I'm glad that he's not allowing it to stop him or create fear in moving on with his life. I mean, it's only just happened. And I appreciate the fact that he's been through a traumatic experience and it might affect him at some point. But it also highlighted the fact and reminded me of how fragile and unpredictable life truly is. And I've had many past experiences where life has shown me this. And I've never actually been in a situation with my kids where the reality and the thin line between life and potentially death have come so close. And it's just one of those wake-up calls that I feel we experience, and we have to take the positives from those experiences. And I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I've just been literally exhausted this week. That whole experience literally shattered me. I haven't been able to get on with any of the work I'm supposed to do, the tasks I'm supposed to do. It just consumed me. And I was actually considering not recording my podcast this week. And when I first started this podcast, I made a promise to myself that I'm going to keep showing up every week, no matter what. And I was due to record it yesterday. And I was just so exhausted. I said, I can't do it. And I said, this might be the first week that I actually don't record. And something said to me, just go to bed, have a sleep, have a rest, and wake up and see how you feel tomorrow. And I woke up today and I said to myself, do you know what? I'm at a point now where it would be really easy for me to quit this podcast. I'm creating something that isn't giving me any external validation in terms of views or, likes or engagement. I don't know if anybody is resonating with what I'm saying. I don't know if anybody likes what I'm saying. I haven't got a clue. And for me to keep showing up week after week with no proof, it is difficult. I'm not going to lie. It can be difficult. But then I remembered that regardless of the external validation that I'm not getting, what I have gained through starting this podcast, this is my 16th episode. And what I have gained through starting this podcast is huge. Let's just say when I got the idea to start this podcast, I would never have imagined the growth that I have undergone. And it reminded me that, do you know what? Even if nobody listens to what I'm saying, even if nobody likes what I'm saying, even if I don't get any, feedback from these episodes that I create, it has made me grow in so many ways that no amount of money, no amount of likes, attention, validation could ever give me. And it was that moment that I said, I'm going to record my podcast. I don't know what I'm going to discuss. And I thought, you know what? This has really been about me showing up for myself, working on my confidence, learning how to use my voice and not fearing the repercussions that might come from me using my voice. Showing up for myself authentically and truthfully and being true to me every step of the way. That is the core reason why I started this podcast. And I believe that the experiences I've had in my life and what I've learnt from them can be really beneficial and helpful to anybody that might resonate and engage with the content that I'm creating. So everything really has its place, and we might go through situations that break us down, but it's in those moments when we are at our most vulnerable point that we have to choose to either quit or continue pushing. And I've started so many things in my life and I've built them up to a point and then I've decided to quit. It was at that point that I decided to quit that I had to keep pushing forward. And if I kept pushing forward, who knows where I would be now. But instead of reflecting on that, I don't. I believe everything happens for a reason. And all of those moments in the past just contribute to the path that you are taking. They contribute to the steps that you have to continue making. And every experience that you go through, whether it's successful or not, adds to the experience that you want to have in your life. So whatever your goals are, whatever your dreams are, whatever you're working on in terms of projects, businesses, everything has a purpose. And if you just keep on showing up for yourself, no matter what other people's opinions are, just keep believing in yourself, keep pushing forward, and in those moments of doubt and in those moments when you feel defeated, those are the points when you have to keep showing up. And as I made that promise to myself before I started this podcast, and I said, Danielle, you can't start something else that you're going to quit. You have to keep showing up no matter what. And that's what I'm deciding, and I've decided to do. It's not easy. No. But is anything easy? No, it isn't. Do I want to stay stuck in the same cycle? No, I don't. So what option do I have? The only option I have is to keep pushing forward. And my motto, or my driving force, is that I believe we turn our pain into power, and every negative situation has a positive. Every cloud has a silver lining. How you choose to perceive that situation is entirely up to you. But I believe that no matter what we experience in life, we can take positive from it, and we can help that along our journey to continue growing. Now, I've recently started another project and it's going well. I feel really passionate about it. And I wasn't really sure how to differentiate myself because it's not something that's like completely unique or new. And through what I experienced with my son, it gave me the insight in how to differentiate myself in the market that I want to start approaching and targeting. And, I'm so blessed that my son is here. I'm so grateful that we got through the experience that we did, and I wouldn't wish to go through anything like that again. But on the other hand, I am grateful that it was a huge lesson for both me and my son. It's another reminder that we never take our time for granted, and it just reminds you that life is so unpredictable. Life truly can change at the flick of a switch, and we just have to make the most of everything that we have and just not put that pressure on ourselves to be more or perform more or do more, and just know that wherever you are in your life right now, you're doing the best that you can with what you have and with what you know. And that's all we need to do. And just keep that in mind. No matter what life throws your way, try and take those steps, those small steps, to move along the path that you wish to take in life, and not allowing certain situations that are designed to break us down to succeed in breaking us down. And I just want to express my gratitude for everything that I have, every opportunity that we are given. And I've reached a point in my life where I don't want to waste time anymore. I can't afford to waste any more time. I'm not getting any younger, and finally reaching that point in my life where I'm genuinely believing in myself. I'm genuinely trusting myself. My confidence is growing. I'm learning to love my voice. Finally reaching this point, I know I still have a way to go, but I'm at a crucial point where I cannot afford to give up. And this week for me has just highlighted that I'm on the right track. I am moving in the right direction. And this podcast might not be my end goal. My new project that I'm working on might not be my end goal. And it's not about the end goal. It's about the journey and what we learn on that journey, what we take from that journey, how we grow along this journey. And that is the most important aspect of choosing to move forward in our lives and creating the life that we desire. So I'm going to congratulate myself for showing up. I've had many weeks on this podcast where I haven't wanted to show up, and I just feel I'm learning huge lessons on this journey, and I'm not going to betray myself anymore. And life is a blessing that we have to embrace every day, whether we're experiencing good or bad, light or dark. We can grow from every situation that we encounter. So thank you for being here. I will see you again next week. Will be episode 7 of season 2. Take care, and I will see you then. Bye.